Route 128. This is a name that brings thoughts of long stretches of highway covered in office parks and Canada geese. But the history and impact of this great circumferential highway extends far past what meets the eye. It brought in a dynamic change in the surrounding area's diversity, population, and demographics. The Lexington government reacted to the increase of population due to the construction of Route 128 by creating schools, conservation committees, and taking other measures. Route 128, also known as the Yankee Division Highway, was completed in 1950 and connected to Lexington in 1951 as a means of easing the commute for working professionals. This great circumferential road serves as a beltway around Boston, connecting all the suburbs to one another. As new businesses began development on Route 128, soon to be known as the high-tech corridor, workers started moving to the suburbs. In November 1949, just before confirming the contracts for the highway project, William Callahan, commissioner of the Massachusetts Department of Public Works, predicted that this new highway will cause the relocation of business establishments and open new residential sections. The first-hand effects of construction were dramatic. Before Route 128's completion in 1950, the population of Lexington was hovering around 14,500, according to the 1945 census, but in just 10 years, Lexington underwent a 53% increase and jumped to 22,256 people. By 1960, the population was soaring at 27,691, a mere 3,500 below the Lexington population today. Unwritten in the numbers is the new demographic brought to town. By turning Lexington into a crossroad between Cambridge universities and the future high-tech corridor, professors and graduates of top city universities such as Harvard and MIT, as well as engineers and scientists, could now seek suburban homes. At this time, a lot of public money and federal research money flowed into MIT, which started a wave of entrepreneurial activities by MIT graduates, future founders of companies that would become today's most prominent electronics corporations in the country. These companies needed research, manufacturing, and distribution facilities, but land values and property taxes in most of the dense urban cores of Boston and Cambridge were too high. To add to this, inconvenient transportation greatly reduced the accessibility for potential employees, many of whom wanted to live in the suburbs. This influx of people brought in a new demographic to the area. Working professionals with higher education generally receive a higher income than those without, leading to a dramatic increase in valuation of Lexington. They sent their sons and daughters to the town schools, flooding the system, leaving Lexington to found a community value of progressive education. To add to this, school enrollment nearly doubled, going from 2,400 in 1946 to 4,299 in 1955. In 1955, 500 first graders were enrolled in the Lexington public school system. In 1960, town school enrollment had reached 5,077 students. A CBS News crew came to Lexington to report on the new team teaching methods implemented by Harvard at the Franklin School. To sustain the new population growth, the town needed to revamp their infrastructure. New fire stations were constructed in the town center in 1947, then East Lexington in 1951, and eventually a police station next to Cary Memorial Hall in 1958. Schools faced overcrowding, so to support the influx of students in the Lexington public schools, construction of a new school on Waltham Street began in 1951 and was completed and dedicated in 1957. William Diamond Junior High School was completed in 1959. In 1954, the Harrington School was opened and a large addition was completed at Fisk Elementary School. Maria Hastings Elementary School was opened in 1955, the Franklin addition was completed in 1957, the Estabrook School on Grove Street in 1961, and the Bridge School in 1966. As another result of the population growth, town officials began to worry that the town would become too large. They didn't want to lose the small town feel of Lexington and have the open land encroached upon by buildings and houses to facilitate the growing number of town inhabitants. In 1963, the Lexington Conservation Committee was formed at a town meeting. Their primary responsibility was the preservation of open land and wetlands. Over the decades, Route 128 brought in a dynamic change that has shaped the modern town we live in today. Due to its newfound geographical advantages, Lexington has become a more diverse, educated, and flourishing town.